To kick off Konsoll this year, we have a person and a game that over time has become very dear to us. It's a story that is both terrifying and inspiring. So please welcome Jo-Remi.
Hello. For moral support, here we go. Okay, let's see. And yeah, soon. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. I was asked to speak about hope, and it's something that I've lost over the years. So I actually had to Google it. It's a feeling that you have when you start out making something. Usually you end up hoping that it's gonna be something unique and something creative that nobody has ever done before. But in the end, hope is kind of something that fades after a while, especially with developers. Usually what they go through is they start and they are really like into what they're making, and then the years pass and then they feel dead inside. So that's what I've been feeling for the last couple of years, 10 of them to be exactly. For those who don't know me, I've been working on a game called Owlboy. It took 10 years to develop, and last year we finally released it, and it received great praise. We were really happy with it. But, you know, even though we got a lot of recognition for it, it was a pretty involved process that we had to reiterate a lot on. And we had to, like, oh yeah, some cool things happened when we released it. So everything that we had been working on kind of just exploded. Because we hadn't shown anything from it. We had tried to keep it quiet all of these years. We had teased some stuff, but we never really showed what it is we've been working on all this time. So yeah, we've made plenty of mistakes during the development. One of those mistakes was, whoops, not hope necessarily. Yes. Also, yeah, PowerPoint seems to hate me, so I decided to do my presentation entirely in Snapchat. But we announced the game was going to come out in 2011. And it's kind of haunted us ever since. Every year, whenever we went anywhere to any conferences or spoke about the game, we just told people that we hoped the game is coming out this year. Hope wasn't enough. So we figured we have to actually start digging ourselves out of the shit. And that's not easy. When a lot of years pass, you kind of lose hope a little bit. So when 2011 came, nope, no Owlboy. 2012, nope, no Owlboy. 2013, nope. And so on. So it wasn't until somebody from the outside actually came in and told us that, you know, hoping for this to happen hope in it by itself is a very passive state. You have to kind of, push for it if it's gonna happen. So by its very definition, hoping is just sitting and waiting for something to happen. So this person that entered into our lives at that point, in 2016, the year that we actually decided we're gonna release this game, it was somebody who had to whip us into shape and whip our hope into our goal. And once you have a goal in life, it completely changes how you think about things. We were no longer hoping to get Owlboy out this year. Our goal was to do it. So we just made a plan, and we started actually working towards actually, releasing the game. So I had to Google hope again because it was something that I thought would drive us, but it just didn't. So after we actually, set our own goal, that became kind of the staple of how I wanted to work with things. So being a creative person, anyone here hoping to become, part of the gaming industry, or just hoping for something to drop into their lap, you guys need to realize that you're just gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to pursue the great beast that is on the horizon. So whenever you sit and draw something, at some point you want to make this your career if you actually like doing this. If you like video games, why not try and make it into your career? And yeah, I think that's very important. That's my dog Tender, and I realize now that doing this in Snapchat might have not been a good idea. But anyway, a couple of weeks ago, I tried to be a teacher at a school, and that was something that was entirely new to me. And Fauna, I know you're here. Hi guys! So I finally brought this guy. So I promised them if they finished their project, they were gonna get a prize, and that's this guy. And he hid in my bag when I went home, and I actually had to run back today because I forgot him again. But here he is. So, you guys. There you go. So this is the entire class. At least, I think so. There are 15 people. And there was some people missing that day. But I ended up learning a lot, and I think probably more than the students did. We played a little games, and we started to create things. So that was my last weekend on Oktoberfest. Forget about that. So being a teacher was not something I had ever thought I was going to do. But once I started, stopping to hope this is going to go well, I made it my goal to actually teach these kids something. And it changes how you approach things. So we ended up actually making a game. So I'm gonna show a little bit of that later on, but first I'm gonna touch on a series that also impacted my life at a point where I didn't really know. So this is my favorite series ever. It's called Dog. And I'm so sad it's only in Norwegian because it's a series that I think everyone should watch. It's about a guy who is totally isolating himself, but he is a couples therapist. And his only advice to any couple ever is get divorced. So that's what he's trying to do. But in this series, there's a guy called Ernst, which, sad to say, he's fictional, but he's also a genius. And I can't recreate his words, so I just have to show them.
Fake it till you make it. Fake it till you make it.
So he is trying to say with those words that even though you're not a teacher, you can try your best to become one. And that's kind of what you have to do if you're gonna make it in this industry. You're gonna have to just try and be professional and try and teach yourself how to, because nobody else will. So you have to kind of fake it. You have to put yourself in a state where you can realize your own potential. And this has actually happened to me before. When I quit school, I was in a state where I didn't really know where my path was going to go next. So I kind of have to find myself again. But going back to the school, my goal was to teach the kids that you can create stuff. You can just start doing it right now, because a lot of people think that making games is a huge and tedious process. And I know Owlboy is probably the best example of exactly that. But we actually ended up making a game in a day on the school. And it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. I could have just, tried to explain to them how the industry works and how are you going to make it in the industry, and try and tell them that, these and these things are what makes good games. But these things change all the time. The gaming industry is constantly changing. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. So that's kind of futile. That's kind of stupid. There is nobody who knows truly how it works. So I wasn't gonna fake that. But this was just a spur of the moment thing. We started doing a little assignment. A buddy of mine, he once made a video where he was gonna make music, and he just put random notes with themes on them in his hat. And he just started, pulling out the notes and started making whatever came up. So it was elephant funk that ended up being made, because he had a lot of animals and stuff in there. So what I suggested that the school do is we put different themes in my hat, and we try and create a game out of it. So these are the topics that we picked. It's a sword, an atom bomb, and a brilleslange. In English, glass snake, I guess. It's a really stupid Norwegian term, but it essentially means, I don't know, geek, I guess. But we took the literal term and actually made a snake with glasses. So we just started prototyping it, and actually, you can try it out yourself. We uploaded it. There's a high score table in it, so you guys can compete in it. But it was really important for me to show the class that you can create something. Like, you don't sit and talk about ideas. You can just start making them right away. And that's how what I hope came out of that. So it was kind of the goal that I wanted to show them. So we went through a lot of other assignments, which was, pitching game ideas, and I think that you guys will learn a lot from being at this conference, because this is the perfect place to learn even more about pitching and, how people work in the industry. So when I was a kid and I was going to elementary school, I had this guy in class who was always alone and always depressed. And I was looking at him and just thinking, why isn't he, doing something with his life? Why isn't he just going crazy? Because he's just there alone. So I don't know if you guys have ever had that feeling that if I body swapped with a person, I could totally change that guy's life. If only for a day, I would, I would change his life entirely. So I thought if I was, body swapped into this depressed kid's mind, I would make his life a party. And I would just go crazy. Like I would dance and sing, and I would, invite girls out for dates and just not care at all. And, be self-destructive and smoke and drink and, try and be as crazy as possible. Because that's what I imagined would fix this guy's problem. Of course it wouldn't, but he's probably a genius these days. Yeah, I would essentially destroy his life if I could. So later in life, when I finished school myself, and I was trying to find myself, basically. I didn't know at the time I was gonna end up in the gaming industry. I had been hoping to, but that wasn't my goal. So that's when I remembered this kid, and how if I would have entered his life, I would have changed it. So I went into my own mind and tried to change how I was, because I was super depressed and alone, and in Oslo, and Oslo is the worst place you can be if you're depressed. I was just trying to, find a way to change my life up. And that's when I met my team. And that's also when I decided that, okay, so I now have these guys who kind of depend on me. And that's kind of the same feeling I got when I went to the school. Like I have never had anyone but myself to depend upon. So it kind of became this huge deal, starting D-pad and starting being part of a team. And we're far from perfect still. Like we don't know what we're doing. Basically, we don't know what we're doing half the time, and we've been working with games since we were kids. So we're constantly changing, and we're constantly finding new ways to work. But nothing seems to be the perfect way to work. That's kind of the weird thing. There is no way to do this properly. So at that point in my life, I wasn't really sure how we were even gonna approach this. So. This next clip is from my favorite series that is animated. It's kind of loud, but... So that's from Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. It's a series about giant freaking mechs in space. But what I learned from watching it, and I watched this series right before I met my own team, it's that this phrase, I turned it upside down in my head for days. Don't believe in yourself. Believe in me who believes in you, which is a freaking weird phrase. But what it means is if you believe that somebody else believes in you, then you can basically just believe in yourself, because it's like becoming a parent for the first time. Suddenly you have this kid who idolizes you, and your life, it's a switch. Your life changes instantly. And that's what that phrase kind of means. If you ever like doubt yourself, if you have people around you that believe in you, that doubt suddenly becomes, extinct. So that's what I wanted to tell my team, that as long as we stick together and as long as we, even though it's been years and years of frustration, as long as we keep going and believe that we're gonna make it, we can. So we went pretty far in practicing this theory. The half of the team didn't have a place to stay during development. We were poor, and so I opened my house up to them. They actually lived at my house for 5 years in an apartment next to the house. So, and it was at my mom's place. So they also believed in me, and that was extremely important. Part of the reason why I lost hope over the years was because a lot of people that had believed in me, they passed away. Like all of my grandparents during development. We started development, they were all alive, and then at the end, nobody from my, ancestry was there to actually see it happen. All they had seen was pictures of an owl, and they didn't really get it. So that was kind of soul crushing, but we came through it. I'm going to show you a scene from our game later on that was actually inspired by that feeling. So initially, I didn't understand the words. I thought they were bullshit, but when I joined the team, suddenly I knew this is how it works. We have to back each other up, and we have to believe each other. We have to, if one of us are ever frustrated after us, we have to punch them in the face. Just because, they need to know that we believe in them. Yes, that's the kind of team I wanted. A strong team who, okay, here we go. So I think the rest of these are now just Snapchat pictures. So I'm going to show you a clip instead. So this is something that was kind of part of how I wanted our team to be. I wanted a great culture within the team, and which is why we've never strayed away from where we are. Right now we're situated on Askøy, which is an isolated island. We could get an office in Oslo and Bergen, but I just don't know if we're that kind of team. So right now we're trying to find out what we're gonna do next. But yeah, I know a lot of teams who are really strange. Double Fine is one of them. I think they're represented here today. And Jo-Remi, he actually has a few words about that. And Jo-Remi, he was a person who came to Norway and started just working. His goal was actually just to work in Norway, so he did. And he went all out. He passed away recently, but here are some words that I hope will resonate with the rest of you guys.
Every game company I've ever worked with is different culturally. That's just part of how businesses run. And the thing about most businesses is that businesses tend to be top-down organizations. Right. So whoever is the leader of a business will inspire the way the culture beneath them functions. So if you have somebody who is who's fun and evokes a lot of fun, you'll have a much more playful culture. If you have someone who is suspicious of their employees, then you'll get a much more toxic culture. Yeah. Right? And that's true of any kind of business. Yeah. So I've seen all different kinds. I mean, if you look at game companies like, say, Double Fine, clearly you have some really fun people running that company, and they tend to have people who are much more into having fun in the workplace. I see in my thread my friends at Double Fine going out bowling together and doing all kinds of fun stuff, and that's the kind of workplace.
So yeah, and I totally agree with what Jory is saying, because the kind of workplace that you end up in, like I would never, before when I started studying games, I was thinking I'm gonna make it big in the big gaming industry. Like I want to work on Lionhead Studios. I want to make the next Fable game. I want to make, you know, like Grand Theft Auto type of games. I never even thought that I could start my own company and that it would be even earning money. It didn't for quite a long while, but it eventually ended up being nothing like I had ever hoped for. I just can't describe the word when we actually released this thing and we realized that, wow, we've actually made it. So I'm actually going to show you a scene from the game that was kind of reflective. Let's see. There we go. Reflective of how we kind of lost our hope. Let's see. Whoa. Here we go. Okay, so this is filled with spoilers, so if you haven't played it yet, you should have. Yes, this is a scene in Owlboy that kind of turns the game around. A lot of people, you know, went into this thinking it'd be the next Super Mario, you know, colorful, happy. Let's have a look at this scene and see what you think. So this scene was exactly how I felt when I lost my grandparents, and they weren't able to see how it all turned out. Because we had been working on this thing for years and years, and they were believing in us, and we just couldn't, you know, make it fast enough. So I wrote this scene, and it kind of changed the entire game around, because the reason why this scene happens is because maybe I shouldn't spoil that part, actually. I'm just going to tell you that there's something in the game that happens that is kind of unexpected. And that was the part where my team was the best moral support. We believed in each other, and we just continued working on it. and we all agree that all the things and frustrations and the the fading hope was something we would put in the game to tell people exactly the story that I'm trying to tell you guys right now. That hope is kind of something that you need to change around if you're gonna actually achieve your goals. Yes. Let's see. So, and that's kind of what I want to leave. Although, I want to show you the game that we made on the school. Here it is in all its glory. So, it's very simple. But what we did was we just made it, even though it was super silly. And yes. You guys realize now that it's pretty easy to make games, right? And once you have an idea, you can actually just go for it. And it actually became kind of popular. I posted it on the Norske Spillutviklers Facebook page, which is a group of Norwegian people that is working in the gaming industry. And we got a lot of feedback on it. And suddenly, people started competing for high scores and stuff. So spending a couple hours on a game ended up being far more rewarding because people actually started experiencing it and having opinions on it, which was also my goal when we started on this project. So yes, unless there are any questions, we can have a break. I think it starts again at 11. But yeah, if you guys wonder anything, yes, please. Thank you. All right. Have a great console, guys. Oh, do you have a question, by the way?
Would you take 10 years again to make another game?
No. Holy shit.
That's not ideal?
It's a bad idea. It turned out good, but it's the worst decision you can do. I mean, we didn't decide it, so we just ended up like that. It has changed our lives, I can tell you that much. It has changed who we are, but I wouldn't do it again just because. I mean, the way we're going to approach games next, we're going to go much harder in, making this our actual career instead of starting out as trying to make this a hobby thing, right? So when we started our company, we had no idea how to run it, but it was really easy to just pick up and start learning that. The hard part was just defining what the game was actually going to be about, because we knew that the game was going to be about flying, and we knew the game was going to be about an owl. I mean, that was also kind of diffuse in the first part. Like, Owlboy started out as an insect, then he evolved into a dog with a jetpack, and then he evolved into a girl with pigtails who could fly. And that was all Simon's designs. He was just sitting and, trying to figure out how can I make this character interesting. It was then that his now wife told him that, why don't you just make it an owl? They're cool. And that very same evening, he had designed, I think, all of the characters within the game. But the rest of the game was still up for, changing, and it did. Like, we had 1 week before launch, and we were still, changing major parts of the story. So it was a horrible process that I hope nobody will ever have to go through, but they will. Probably all of you.
Thanks.
So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Any like major tips and tricks?
Major tips and tricks.
from your 10 years of experience running a hobby slash company slash life.
Fake it till you make it. Because I have no idea what I'm saying most of the time. And, you know, being a speaker is something I'm not good at. But, you know, so that's why I resort to Snapchat whenever I'm gonna speak. But yes, I think just, you know, starting out with the very basics. You need to be able to already, when you start having ideas and stuff, to scope down. I know that when we started at Fana, when I was at Fana a couple of weeks ago, they have some pretty big ideas. Like they started pitching some awesome ideas. And what they're gonna, you know, experience is if they start out making those kind of ideas, they're gonna spend 10 years on it. So that's kind of, you know, what I would suggest people to do whenever they have a great game. Actually, one of our assignments at the school was taking one of your biggest and favoritist games, like, you know, Zelda or Grand Theft Auto, and just take one thing you like about it and make that into a game. Like in Zelda, it could be a game about flying with chickens, or, you know, one of the great pitches was in Fable. You can kick chickens, so you have a chicken kicking contest game. Yeah, kick a chick, right? Which is a great concept, you know. And it's got a lot of promise. If you think like that, if you scope down, you're going to make it in the indie industry specifically, which is where I kind of advise everyone to start out, not making a company necessarily, but just making games on your own. That's how I started. I just started using Game Maker, which is the easiest program you can use when you prototype stuff. You can learn it in a day, and you can already start making things. Unity, I'm not so sure, because it's a 3D engine, and once you go 3D, everything is, you know, exponentially harder. It's gotten better with the years with their 2D support, so it might be great now, but yeah, the students at Fana can tell you, because they've been using both Unity and maybe a little bit Game Maker, I hope, these days. But I don't know. But yeah, just start making stuff, and you'll eventually overcome the obstacle of, you know, trying to create something. Yes.
In the making of Owlboy, what was your biggest regret? Whether it was a feature you couldn't include, or just something that you really regret in the process of making it?
Wow. I don't. I've never thought about that, because I try not to think about it. Yeah, I mean, I worked as hard as I could, so I couldn't do anything there. I guess the biggest regret I have is maybe not involving more people. Like we didn't really trust a lot of people when creating the game. We were more like, this is our thing, so let's do it our way. I mean, in the end, it worked out great. But, you know, like I told you earlier, getting a new person on a team that actually pushed us in a way that we hadn't tried yet was so changing to how we worked that we actually released the game because of it. I don't think we would have been as effective as we were if we didn't. So maybe being a little bit more open. I mean, that's kind of what the indie industry should be, I think. little bit open about what they do. I know a lot of people do, like Tim Garbus, he's here today. Yes, he recently, just shared a tweet from a prototype in his game, Keyboard Sports. And it's just, it doesn't even include the final graphics, I think. It's just something that they made like really fast, just to demonstrate how the game works. And I think that's your most favorited tweet, like even more so than the announcement of the game. And sharing stuff like that is almost what people expect from indies these days, because that's what you can do, and it's a great way to market yourself, and it's also a great way to connect with people, and you start getting feedback on it, and feedback is really important. We started getting Owlboy tested way too late, which is also one thing that I might regret, and we started getting feedback on it that also changed the game around. So yes, being as open as humanly possible, I would recommend doing that. Not giving away, of course, spoilers and stuff, but just talk about your game when you start making it. People are interested no matter what, so not just your mom and dad. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. One of the fascinating stories about the project is that you used 10 years to make it.
Oh, hello.
10 years to make the game, and you lived at your mom's house, and you put your friends in there and everything like that. And I know for young game developers that is sort of a glorified way of working in the games industry.
Yes.
Is that something that you really would recommend to young game developers?
No, never. But if you are willing to do it, then yes. If you're thinking that I'm gonna do this. This is my goal now. You're gonna have to make sacrifices, and you're gonna have to make big ones. So I wouldn't recommend any of the stuff that we did. But we ended up doing them because of, our goal. So if your goal is to make a game that's, worthy of your name, then it costs a lot. And we didn't have the money, so we had to do other things to make those ends meet. And that was living at my parents' house. That's also a lot of the reason why my hope started fading, because living at your parents' house year after year, when you're actually, running your own company and stuff, that's something that doesn't keep your hope up. But at the end of it all, it's been worth it. So whatever sacrifice you can make to chase your dream, I think my top goal in life is to avoid midlife crisis. So the only way you do that is by chasing your goal. Yes. Yeah, a couple of questions.
Do you recommend any marketing techniques?
Yes, a lot actually. These days we are preparing for Owlboy's console release, so we're actually trying to teach ourselves again how to market games, because it has already changed since our release. Our anniversary is coming up. Actually, it's on the 1st of November. We released Owlboy 1st of November in 2016, and just there, is a thing that you can market. I've already, contacted a lot of people that I think might be interested in helping us out when our anniversary hits. Like journalists and other people who have covered the game and might have, some affection for it, because they are the people who will help you out. We had, of course, a lot of press and streamers and stuff, but they might not be as, wrapped up in a 1-year anniversary as maybe your fans are. So other marketing tips is checking out every, possible publication that can maybe cover your game. Like, I didn't think about gaming press almost at all because I knew they were already gonna cover this game. So I started contacting newspapers. I contacted the Telegraph, which is a big newspaper in Britain. They played a game and they actually reviewed it, one of the very few games they did. And Le Monde, which is a huge French newspaper, I just sent them the demo and they loved it and they reviewed it and made a French article on it. And the point when you know what your game is, you're gonna have to try and sell it to the people that you didn't make the game for, because there's a lot of people. It might appease one fan base that you thought, but it could go the other way as well. There's no knowing. The industry is, I don't understand it. I just experiment with stuff and see what sticks. Another thing that happened, you saw the Otis cutout from Arby's. I don't know where that came from, but we made sure to remind everyone that, holy shit, this happened. Look at it. And yeah, just be untraditional in the way that you market. Yes. I don't know how much time we have, and you guys should probably have a break, so maybe we should take last question now.
Yeah, okay. Like in game development in general, when you have like these small phases of despair, what is the quickest way to get out of those? Because I'm currently in one of those, and
yes.
I want to get out of it. So,
do you have a team?
Yes. We're like a student business. So,
yes. Yeah. In our case, our team pulled us through. We did a lot of travel, which was one of the staple of how we did, did development. Once we went out and showed our game, which is also a marketing tip, by the way. Every year we went to San Francisco for the GDC. We went to a Nordic game, and we did a lot of travel. Every time we would come back, people would have had played our game and given us feedback on it, and it ended up being a moral boost to the entire team, because wow, we have something to work on now, and we have something to improve the next time we're going back to that conference, showing the same people and then going, I fixed this stuff that you told me was bad. That is actually a brilliantly awesome feeling. And releasing a game that we knew that the players had helped us create by giving us a lot of feedback, that ended up being kind of like a drug. When you receive feedback and you receive especially fan art and stuff, which also became my drug. It was so weird seeing other people try and create life into a character that like Simon had made himself. So yes, just show your game around, and then if people don't like your game, try and make them like it. Yes, and guys, have a great Konsoll, and if you are around, we're probably gonna have a lot of beers tonight, so make sure to say hi. And thank you for my time.
Thank you so much.